Hello, everybody. How are you? Today is week 8 of the War on Art. We have Zandra in the chat. Hi, Zandra. How are you doing this week? Hope you had a safe holiday weekend. 1 second here. Do this. Just gonna. All right. So week 8 we did pages 122 all the way to 139, and this week it was kind of these solid beliefs that Stephen believes around creativity and how we can access it. And for Stephen this week, he's talking a lot about divine intervention in our lives. And I think if you're looking through it at the what he's saying here through a lens of like non-denominational spirituality and things like that, you can just translate a lot of this over, and we'll talk about how we can interpret that for ourselves and still get something out of what he's saying here. So with that being said, we got another person in here. Hi, Kim. Hi, Zandra. Hope y'all are doing good. So on page 122, oops, we've got Kim here saying hi. Had a good Thanksgiving. All right. Greetings, everyone. So on page 122, he calls it the magic of making a start. And if you've been with us on some of the other books that we've read, there's a belief called something called synchronicity that we talk about with Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way, where synchronicity is once you decide that you're going to do something or that you want something, then like doors just start to open for you because on multiple levels, you're like looking or that's on the forefront of your mind, so you can be also looking for opportunities and more aware because that's been something that you decided you wanted to do. And also you can interpret it as maybe the universe or your divine power is sending you things and opportunities and opening doors for you. So whatever way you want to look at it, I like to look at things like I'm connecting with myself and that inner knowing, like trust your spidey sense kind of stuff. So kind of like, yeah, anyway, let's move on. And I know you guys in the chat are gonna interject on that too. So what Stephen says opening up here is concerning all acts of taking initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, and if you're not aware of it, it can kill your countless ideas and splendid plans. So the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would not otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man would have dreamed would come his way. So and then he goes on to quote Goethe, whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, magic, and power in it. Begin it now. And I really like that Goethe quote. I think that Stephen has a really, I don't know, I feel like the way Stephen talks, it's like a little bit like Old English, like it's elaborated speech. I don't know. Yes, it's such a good quote. So it was a little wordy, so let's break it down. So the moment one commits to oneself, so once you decide that you're going to do something, then providence, meaning the universe, your divine, your synchronicity, whatever, opens doors for you, and all of a sudden you have these opportunities coming your way. All right, and then he's saying a whole stream of events issues from decision reigning in one's favor. Okay, so unforeseen incidents will work in your favor. Meetings, assistance with material. So that can come in the way of like maybe teaming up with a group of people to produce something, and your powers together gives you all the resources you need to produce it. Things like that are like synchronicity. And as Stephen says, the magic of making a start. So it's taking that first step that can kind of propel you into that. Kim is down here saying she really loves that Goethe quote. Yeah, I really like that he included that in this. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, magic, and power in it. Begin it now. And it's just like, you know, you can have all these great ideas, but if you don't take action on them, like, they're not going to be realized. So oftentimes we put our ideas and the work needed to get them done on this pedestal, when in reality, you're the hardest part of that equation, right? Like you refusing to take that action can be like the hardest part. And really, once you just get through that initial action of taking that first step, then you can see how really that things can come to us. So, oh, and then he goes on here. Okay, so now he's talking about angels. So I'm really interested to see what Kim and Zandra have to say about the angels part of this. Here's Zandra now. Oh, good. So Zandra's saying, I think this section is an excerpt of someone else's work, but it's hard to tell. However, he gives credit at the bottom, so I think it's someone else. So this W.H. Murray, the Scottish Himalayan expedition, is that what you're talking about? W.H. Murray, the Scottish, yeah. So right, so the concept that he's presenting, okay, so Zandra's confirming that that's what she meant. Yes, W.H. Murray. Yeah, so the content and the general belief system seems to be stemming from this W.H. Murray, the Scottish Himalayan expedition. And really, again, like as we said, a lot of the things we're talking about in these creative books, they manifest in different packaging, but it's a recurring theme throughout these creative books that we're reading. So I think that's interesting too. And yeah, so it looks like he is citing sources for something, and it looks like it could possibly be this entire section like Sandra's talking about. So he's sitting here talking about, going to give us more analogies about angels here. And he's saying, angels are like muses. They know stuff we don't. They want to help us. They're on the other side of a pane of glass, shouting to get our attention, but we can't hear them. We're too distracted by our own nonsense. And this, too distracted by our own nonsense. And that just reminds me of the Buddhist concept of monkey mind, which is when like you're sitting down and you're not intending to think about things, but your brain is constantly going to all these different topics and like trying to like pick them apart and whatever it is that your brain does to stay busy instead of being able to circle back and be silent. And so again, that's like a skill that comes with meditation, is getting through the monkey mind. So that's that's not like a very common, well, I mean, it's common if you're like into Buddhism. Okay. So it says, Zandra says, I like the idea of angels are the agents of evolution. So angels are the agents of evolution, meaning they, and Zandra's referring to this concept in the rest of this page here, where Stephen talks about how, let's see right here, when we conceive an enterprise and commit to it in the face of our fears, something wonderful happens. Angel midwives congregate around us. They assist us as we give birth to ourselves, to that person who we were born to be, to the one whose destiny was encoded in our soul, our daemon, our genius. And I really like that concept of giving birth to yourself. And I think that's just throughout our lives, like we get kind of disconnected with ourselves because we get predispositioned and set up to fulfill all these societal and social things. And a lot of times that is differing with what maybe you want to do, like especially for like artists and creatives who are pursuing it, like they're figuring out that, but I think that everybody needs to express themselves in their own unique way. And so I think that that's a path for all of us. So Kim saying the angel section was odd. I changed it to my spirit animals. Yeah, so there was this real mystical, mythical, folk talesy, whimsical aspect to this whole section that we're going over this week, actually. It's very whimsical and fairy tale feeling to me. So Kim's saying she just changed it to her spirit animal. So whatever beliefs you have, this is really interesting because we're coming at this from like all points of view, because whatever, you know, beliefs you have, you can always like filter the concepts through and apply it for yourself. And I found that to be the easiest way to get through things that I don't necessarily connect with verbatim. So Jawa's here. Hi, Jawa. Welcome. He says, hi, gang. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Yeah, things were interesting. It was I got to see, it was a good, it turned out good. Zandra says she likes the comparison to the chick and the EG, the egg, the I don't know what you're talking about, Zandra. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit. And then everyone's greeting Jawa because he's like our little, he just pops in here and there to check on us and see what there is to see. Jawa says he had a chill Thanksgiving. He didn't have turkey, but he had some delicious Japanese food. Okay, Japanese food. That's what's up. Good for you. Zandra says she loves the painting. Oh, this painting behind me. So yeah, it's a black cat. And this is a painting that I'm working on right now. And I'm trying to make this look like glass or like ripples of water, and it's going to be kind of abstract-y in the background, and then I have to finish the cat. So yeah, I'm really happy with this piece so far. Kim said she had a vegan Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh, if you've had the, oh gosh, it's the tofurkey turkey. It's really good. Hopefully you got your hands on one of those. That was really good. So Zandra says chick and the egg, giving birth. It's in the text. Oh, chick and the egg. Yeah. Giving. See, I think that's through back here. Yeah, no, I like that too. Yeah, so I think I chick and the egg. I'm seeing the angels and the midwives. I haven't seen the chick and the egg here, but I know it's in here. I know I read that. Zandra says she loves my painting. Thank you, Zandra. And Zandra says, as a farmer, I directly related to the chick and the egg on page 123. Oh, is that the bottom or the top? Let's see. That's cool. I've raised animals. I love all kinds of animals. So I've had all kinds of pets, but middle bottom, when we conceive. Okay, a crack appears. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's the part I didn't highlight. So, okay, so the part Zandra really connected with was when we conceive an enterprise and commit to it, in the face of our fears, something wonderful happens. A crack appears in the membrane, like the first craze when a chick pecks at the inside of its shell. Angel midwives congregate around us. They assist us as we give birth to ourselves, to that person we were born to be, to the one whose destiny was encoded in our soul, our genius. Yeah. Jawa really liked that as well. Oh, the painting. Oh, your black cat named Lucy. That's cute. I named this Cattywampus because when you look at it, your eyes go cross-eyed and you feel like you're looking at a cattywampus. So I thought that was appropriate. Oh, Zandra, it's a dress with pockets. Thank you. Zandra says she likes my shirt, but no, it's a dress with pockets and it's the best. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I'm fiddling with my settings here and hold on a second, guys. All right, very good. So then he moves on to say, oops, I'm on a completely different page. So yeah, so like for me, when I am like in my flow state, like when I'm painting and I'm just in it and I'm just really grooving. It's really easy for me to get in a meditative flow state when I wake up if I paint right when I wake up in the morning. And then it's kind of harder for me to get into it at night, but I do get into it at night too. It just takes, like, I have to do like, kind of like reset myself a little bit before I sit down to paint. So get the day off you kind of thing. But yeah, so when you get into that flow state, that meditative state, however it might be for you when you're practicing your craft and it's just flowing through you, I feel like that's the point where he's talking about, like, angels are like muses. They know stuff we don't, and they want to help us. Again, I just feel like that's me connecting with myself and my real plans, and like trusting the process of what I know. So again, filter that however you want. But I really liked at the end how he says, eternity, as Blake might have told us, has opened a portal into time, and we're it. And he's talking about, when we make a beginning, we get out of our own way and allow the angels to come in and do their job, right? So this is about like taking that first step so they can speak to us now, and it makes them happy. It makes God happy. Eternity, as Blake might have told us, has opened a portal into time, and we're it. So, and again, when you're in that flow state, like, you really don't have that concept of time. You're just there in that moment. You're not really worrying about time, right? So I thought that was really interesting. And then he's talking, so that first section was the magic of making a start. And so now we're moving on to this next section, which is the magic of keeping going. Keeping going, which is, okay. So he's saying when he finishes a day's work, he heads up to the hills for a hike. He takes a little tape recorder out, and then as he's walking, he kind of talks about the things that he wanted to maybe touch base with and alter from his day's work on his craft. And he's saying that oftentimes when he's just walking and just like kind of like talking about what it is he wants to change, that it really helps him to revise his content. And oftentimes it's that disconnect from the act of creating, and that just relaxing and walking and moving your body. And then as things come to you, as things come to you, they're pretty profound and actually very relevant and distinct and right for what it is to change your project. And I will concur with that. I can sit down and do an entire painting in one sitting. But when I'm doing projects like that, I like to be really clear on my reference images and, have my pre-project prep done. So like I really enjoy working on a project over at least multiple days so that I do have that time where my mind isn't on it and I'm just doing the mundane tasks that you can just kind of like put some music on and do your chores around the house kind of stuff. It's just like those times are when you really get to refine a lot of what it is you do when you sit down to work. So I think that's really interesting. And then he's saying that this process of self-revision and self-correction is so common that we don't even notice, but it is a miracle and its implications are staggering. So he wants to know, like, when these really good ideas pop into your mind, he's saying, well, where do these good ideas come from? So now he's going to do, now he's going to explain in his mind where he thinks this stuff is coming from. And so he was saying that he goes and takes a hike and he like has a tape recorder out, but I do stuff where it's like when they come to me, like I'll either like email myself like notes and then reference images that I find inspiring or things like that. And then sometimes I'll add tasks to a calendar to do later to remember, oh, I want to do this specific thing. Or I have like my little notebook and I'll write down my checklist for the next time I sit down. But he's saying, so now he's concerned with where are these really profound ideas coming from. And he's asking us, are these angels? Are they muses? Is this the unconscious? Is this yourself? So he is he's putting that out there, you guys, like, is this your angel? Is this your muse? Kim, is this your spirit animal? Me, is this my higher self? You know, you, maybe it's your God, whatever it might be. It could be the universe giving this to you, whatever. Like, so he's asking, and he's gonna do his darndest to explain this to us. So he's saying, what exactly are, wherever this is coming from, what's happening? And he's saying that it's organizing, right? Like, so as with every project, as it evolves, it gets more and more specific, and you kind of organize and focus in on what it is that you want to do. So he's saying he's saying that we can be so disorganized with our creation that we need these times to organize our projects. So, and he's saying, I'm having a hard time reading all of this. I'm just kind of giving you my footnotes. If you don't have this book, I do recommend reading it. But he's saying insights pop into our heads when we're shaving or taking a shower, or even while you're actually working. And I really like this part. This is the whimsical part that I was speaking to, that I really liked, that you guys brought up. He's saying, so when we get these ideas, he's saying the elves behind this are smart. If we forget something, they remind us. If we veer off course, they trim the tabs and steer us back. So it's like when you're going to walk out the door and you get halfway to your car and you realize, oh crap, I forgot such and such that I needed for this trip specifically. And then you are able to remember and like clue into that little nagging thing in the back of your head, and you go back and you get whatever thing you needed to go out on your errand, right? So he's saying that, you know, there's like magic elves behind the counter, like coordinating all this for us in our minds, or the universe, or whatever. So he's saying clearly some intelligence is at work, independent of our conscious mind, and yet in alliance with it, processing our material for us and alongside us. Now, I think that this next part, Zondra's going to say as a blanket statement, because I think this is a blanket statement. So he's saying, this is why artists are modest. They know that they're not doing the work. They're just taking dictation. It's also why non-creative people hate creative people, because they're jealous. They sense that artists and writers are tapped into some grid of energy and inspiration that they themselves cannot connect with. I think that this can be partially true for some people, and maybe it's just a blanket statement. I don't agree with it. I think that a lot of people don't give artists credit for the work that they do. It's an accumulation of an entire lifetime. So I disagree with this to a certain extent, though I think that at times this could be true, depending on the person and the situation. So, but he's saying, of course, this is nonsense. We're all creative, which I do agree. I agree. Everybody's creative. You just get shut off from it. So I have a lot of ways in which I know to tap into that. So if you're interested in that, you can tap into some of my workshops and things. But so they sense that, so he's saying, we're all creative. The same everyday muscles are happening in all our heads, day by day, minute by minute. Oof. So I've written a little footnote here. I said, oh yeah, just reiterating what he said about, you know, when your brain is off topic of the project at hand that you can get insight about, your brain kind of sorts everything that you've learned, and then when you, and I think it gives you a little, like, when you're not honed in on this project and thinking about it intentionally, and you're out doing whatever, I feel like you get a little bit of a broader perspective, and then, you know, if your mind wonders about the project or meanders here and there, sometimes you can get insights too, just from looking at it further back. Okay, we've got some action in the chat. It's kind of like a hot topic here. So Zandra said, I found that part to be painfully true. She met way too many people who meet the description of that paragraph. Yeah, and I agree. Like, there's a lot of people that will, but again, I think that it's not taking into account the entire picture about artists and non-artists. Though again, like you said, Zandra, it can be specifically applicable to people and situations. So Jaw was asking me if I prefer this book over The Artist's Way. He's saying they seem similar. Yeah, the books are similar. To be honest, I prefer The Artist's Way. The Artist's Way is a book that I've read multiple times. This is a book that I've read once through already. But I find The Artist's Way to be more enriched. Like you get tasks and activities, and it's like a whole program, whereas this is just like a book about the topic. So I don't really think you can compare them side by side, just because they're not the same book, or they're not even the same product when you really pull back and look at what the content is, but they are similar. And Zondra's saying that she thinks that this book is a more aggressive perspective. Yeah. And she says, I mean, the war of art gives it away. Yeah. So this is you're looking at this from one person's point of view. And he, Kim says, I think everyone can be creative. Some use their creativity, others do not. Some feel creativity is not worthy as a real job and work 9 to 5 instead of using their creativity for their job. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah. So but everybody's able to tap into it if they're given the proper tools and guidance. So Jawa says, like in this one, they don't have you journaling or doing artist dates, ? Or anything similar. No, Jawa, they don't. This is just a hey, get up and do your work. Here's why. Inspiration, and he's trying to get us into that action mode. So this is more of like a cheerleader book. Whereas, and cheerleader might be the wrong word, because as Zandra pointed out, like some of, anyway, all right, well, I'm gonna, it's hard to compare them side to side, but because again, the product is a different product, whereas The Artist's Way is a workbook, and it's a 12-week course, whereas this is a book about creativity and about some ways in which you can, like, if you actually like read the book through and you metabolize it and you digest it, you can see your path forward, generally speaking, whereas we have actual tools and things to use in the other one. Jawa says, okay, cool, thanks for the info. Yeah, no worries, of course. Yeah, buddy. So we have another anecdote in here that I think is kind of fun. Stephen was talking about how, in his 20s, he was broke, estranged from his wife. He was driving tractor trailers, and he's talking about a crazy dream that he had. And he's saying in his crazy dream, there was this person who was known on this ship's crew, and the ship was like marooned a half-mile on land somehow. And he's saying there's this marine gunnery, like cool hotshot guy that everyone was like counting on, and named Largo. But then nobody could find it. But then the guy was looking around, and he's like, oh, I couldn't find Largo. And then somebody pointed at him and asked him the question and addressed him as Largo. And he's like, oh, wow. He woke up electrified. I was Largo. The power to take charge was in my hands. All I had to do was believe. And I thought that was really cute, because he's talking about how we can have dreams sometimes that will kind of be encouraging to us. And he's saying, what does that dream say about the workings of the universe, that such things even happen at all? And he said one time he was sitting down to meditate, and while he was meditating, he had a vision that an eagle came and landed on his shoulders, and then it merged with him, and then they took off flying. And then he said that because it merged with him, he could actually feel the air under his wings, and that it was impossible for a bird to fall out of the sky because, they put their wings out and they glide. And then he's, of course, likening that to, how can you fail if you just put your wings out? And then he's saying you're supposed to learn that things you think are nothing, as weightless as air, are actually powerful, substantial forces, as real and as solid as earth. And that's that just belief that, okay, you've made it this far, you can make it more, right? And so he's saying that the eagle was telling him that dreams, visions, meditations, such as this one, things I had till now disdained as fantasy and illusion, were as real and as solid as anything in my waking life, because it made that much of an emotional impact on him, right? So then he's asking, where does the eagle come from? Because, you know, he's saying, why did he show up just the right time to tell me exactly what I needed to hear? And he's saying, clearly, some unseen intelligence had created him, giving him form as eagle so that he would understand what it wanted me to communicate. And that intelligence was babying him along. So he's saying, again, you know, we're going to get encouragement from, you know, connecting with ourselves or angels or whatever you think that is. And I thought that was cute. I like the whimsical, like this whole section is like super whimsical to me. Kim says she still goes on artist dates. She does projects that aren't in her medium, so she gets to explore and play around creatively. And then Kim says that the eagle is Stephen Pressfield's spirit animal. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, so I think having an animal that we can kind of connect with like that is kind of cool. I also have one. I saw a weasel in person, and it was like this whole like experience for me, and then I had to like look up what it meant and all that. But I was like, wait, weasels are around here. I'm like, I lived here like my entire life if I've never seen a weasel. And then I look it up and it's like, oh, that's because most people will never see a weasel even though they are around, because they're that like sly and sneaky. So it was actually extra impressive that I was like 5 feet from a weasel and like had the interaction that I did. So I thought that was really interesting. So I really connect with a weasel. So you guys can look up that anything that you connect with like that that's recurring for you or has made an impact for you. So then he comes on here, and the next section is life and death, and he's saying that if you have a near-death experience or you find out that maybe you have a terminal illness, he says that you get a profound shift in your psyche, and all of a sudden things that used to matter to you are now you realize like not important, like going into work extra just to, you know, make work happy, whereas you could have been at home spending time with your family or loved ones. And so he's saying that if you have a near-death or terminal illness or an experience relating to that, like you will have that profound shift to where all of a sudden your priorities shift into probably what they should be anyway. So for me, it's like, you know, making my art and spending time with my loved ones and making sure that I not only take care of myself, but that I care for those around me, right? So whatever those priorities are to you. So it might be interesting to think about, you know, if I found out such and such and I didn't have that much time, what would I be focusing my time on? And then maybe take a initiative to, you know, take some small steps towards fulfilling those, because you really never know. So he's saying, faced with our imminent extinction, all assumptions are called into question. And then he comes on and he's talking about Jung, Carl Jung, and he's saying, he's referencing a lot of Carl Jung's work here. And so he's saying the ego, Jung tells us, is that part of the psyche that we think of as I, our conscious intelligence. The self, as Jung defined it, is the greater entity, your higher self, which includes the ego, but also incorporates the personal and collective unconscious. And he's saying dreams and intuitions come from the self, which is that like higher self. That's like that part of you that just like really truly knows like what it is you need, and sometimes we have a difficult time accessing it. But he's saying that dreams and intuitions come from the self. The archetype of the unconscious dwell there. It is, Jung believed, the sphere of the soul, which I think is kind of magical. The sphere of the soul, very whimsical. Good job, Stephen. You're catching my interest. So Zandra's saying, she uses if I die thinking. People think I'm crazy, but I think they are. So I believe what Zandra's saying is when she's assessing situations and making choices, that she already is taking into practice this, you know, would I be doing this if I didn't have that much time left mentality, where, you know, would I be doing this if I was about to die? You know, and I was limited on my amount of time. So, you know, You know, if people think you're crazy, that's their problem, right? I like that. I like that. I think it's really good to see what's important to you and to focus your life around that, because, you know, look at this. This is year, like 2020, like all this stuff that's going on. Like last year, we weren't thinking about, you know, what would happen if this would happen. But not to say you should live your life in fear, but enjoying every moment. You know, would you have gone out and done such and such more had you known that you'd spend the next year in quarantine? So, you know, even that. So he's saying that if you learn that you're about to die, that your consciousness will shift from the ego to that higher self. And at once we discern what's really important. Superficial concerns fall away, replaced by a deeper, more profoundly grounded perspective. Live it out in your, miraculous. And then he's talking about how, now I think your brain is really powerful, but I'm not really going to comment too much on this, because I think if you decide that you're going to do something, that you can. But he's talking about cancers. He's saying miraculously cancers go into remission. People recover once they start going and doing the things that they really needed to be doing in the first place. And then he's saying that disease itself evolves as a consequence of actions taken or not taken in our lives. Or maybe, you know, alternatively, it could just be that you're happy and your cells are... Okay, so now we're getting into this. If you guys are interested in this, I recommend looking up Bruce Lipton's Epigenetics. He has a book called The Biology of Belief. So that's what Stephen Pressfield is talking about right here, where he's talking about once you go out and start doing those things that you enjoy, how your body can miraculously heal. So if you're interested in this topic, I recommend The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. But I'm not going to go any further in this on this channel, just because that's a little bit of a different topic. So we've got some action here. Jawa says, makes sense to me. This life doesn't go on forever. Exactly, right? Zandra says, 2019 was one of the best years of her life. She did tons of festivals, visited the Philippines and Hawaii, and her whole thought was, if I die without this, I'll be pissed. Oh, so you got to go do a lot of things that were on your list. So that's really exciting. I'm really happy for you. I did a lot of working last year, but I did some really cool things. So I'm happy for me too. Zandra says, even though she's still making payments, she's glad she made those choices, because quarantine would be so much more miserable if she hadn't. Right. Yeah. So if you hadn't gone out and taken all those trips and done all those experiences, there was a study done that said purchasing experiences for ourselves yields a much higher rate of happiness and a longer period of happiness than just purchasing things like clothing or whatever. So I think that if you are going to invest in anything for yourself, that experiences are actually psychologically a better investment. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, so we have Stephen has he has a list of the differences between the ego and the higher self, right? So I'm just going to real quickly go through this. So he's saying the self wants to create, to evolve. The ego likes things just the way they are. So here's the differences, one by one. We're going to go through these. So the ego believes our existence is defined by our flesh, right? So your bodies, rather than your mind and your spirit living on. And then the ego believes that to get from point A to Z, that we have to pass through B, C, and D, etc. So to get from breakfast to supper, we have to live the whole day. So again, remember just a few pages back, he said, it was about time. It was that quote about time. Eternity, as Blake might have told us, has opened a portal into time, and we're it. So you guys feel free to comment in the chat. This is a discussion. Tell me your opinion on what's being said here. I want to know. And it can only help us to talk about it, to understand how we feel about it, right? So the ego believes that I am distinct from you. We live and act out of fear in all that we do if we're acting from the ego. And so he's the ego believes there is no God. Okay, so now he's saying, here's what the self believes. The soul endures and evolves through infinite manifestations. Death is an illusion. Then he says, time and space are illusions. In other dimensions, we move swift as thought and inhabit multiple planes simultaneously. There is so much in this that we could talk about, but I'm just going to play off of what you guys have to say in the chat here. Then he's saying, if I hurt you, then I actually am hurting myself. And he's saying that the supreme emotion that we can have is love. We are all in this together. And then he's saying that God is all there is. Infinite planes of reality exist, all created by, sustained by, and infused by the Spirit of God. So Zandra says she really loved these lists. Yeah, because he's really breaking down and contrasting what he's saying about the ego and the self, right? So, and again, this is all very whimsical. Zandra says she found a lot of truth in them, right? So yeah, I can agree with a lot of this too. But I don't really have too much commentary personally. I'm just going to let you guys sit with them. Jawa says that's deep. I don't really know much about all that mystical talk, right? So, okay, so I can say there's a school of thought about like who you are as a person, right? Like, you know, so he's grasping onto this ego and self, right? And there's a school of thought that really only there's a school of thought that merges the ego and self together, but they also view them a little bit differently. But generally speaking, it's about like the law of attraction, right? And so this particular school of thought says that like your higher self and your higher self is your ego really, but like it breaks off like this, what he's saying about resistance. So here Stephen is clumping resistance with your ego, whereas this school of thought clumps your ego and yourself together and then resistance as a separate thing, right? And then resistance would be, and that mindset of resistance would be what actually prevents a lot of these breakthroughs and creative openings, and synchronicity. And so the resistance and focusing on the resistance instead of focusing on what you want is actually what prevents all that stuff. So that's kind of what I have to say about that. And as far as that school of thought, they touch on like, you know, spirituality, where it's like, you know, when you pass, your spirit doesn't die and you can choose to come back and all kinds of stuff like that. So there's all kinds of really interesting schools of thought out there. And again, like I said, you know, you just kind of pick and choose what you like from each of them and weigh it against your heart and figure out what you want. And this isn't meant to be like a spiritual channel. So I'm just going to like put that stuff out there, and whatever you can take from it and leave what you don't want. So Zandra's saying the specific tenets are good, but also thinking about people who lean towards one view or the other, they really resonated. One view or another. Are you still talking about the lists on the ego and self? tenants. So the next thing, yeah, so Zondra's talking about the lists, yeah. So yeah, there's that. So Jaw was in the chat saying that, you know, this is really deep. Yeah, and it is really deep, but like we're getting into like this nitty gritty like conversation. When I think that with issues like creativity, like we really don't have to go that deep. Like it can just be as simple as, hey, here's a trick that I learned. And you don't really have to go into like the why you believe that that trick works, because I think a lot of times when we go into like a huge belief system like this, it detracts from the point of the material, which is this is something that can help you unlock this, right? Like you don't have to unpack all that extra stuff. Like, so like with this creative books, like they do unpack all this extra stuff, and a lot of it is that perspective. So I think it's unnecessary, but it's fun. It can be fun to talk about and think about, and just don't take it too seriously. And just again, like, so Kim is saying it is like a buffet. You can choose what you want to take and leave the rest. It does not have to be an all or nothing choice. Exactly, right? Like if you're here because you're interested in creativity, or if you're here because you're interested in like the weird kooky things that we have to say, the different perspectives, and you want to have an open discussion, like we have all that here. So, and yeah, hopefully I'm like, yeah, my hope is that this is remaining accessible for you guys, and that the commentary that we're having and the discussion that we're having helps this remain relative, because there is good stuff in here. And not to say that any of this is bad, just I'm withholding that judgment for you individually, right? Like just that's you. That's not me. So yeah, and that's it. So this week, we got real philosophical. You know, us artists, we like to be all philosophical, woo woo, and like I enjoy discussing things like this. But because this is kind of some of this stuff is a little, yeah, it's hard to talk about some of this stuff, and I guess I'm trying to hope that it's coming across as, you know, accessible even so. You know what I'm saying? All right, so next week we have page 139 all the way to page 165, and next week is the last session that we're doing for the War of Art, and then I'm going to have an announcement to make. This week we tried it at 4 o'clock. I feel like that's working kind of well. My day went weird, so I need to do another test run on the 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, so we'll try it again next week. Otherwise, read pages 139 to 165, and I will see you guys next week. And we're getting new people in our creative club, which is really cool. I'm not sure if you guys are, I know a couple of you guys are in the creative club. If you're not in the creative club, go to Facebook and search Creative Club with Sari Luna. It's SARILUNA, and join in, and you can post pictures of projects that you've been working on and talk to other creatives that really are just wanting to share, and we are just kind of building like a little bit of a community as we go and just talk about all these things. So Jawa says, I see, I'd probably have to dive deeper into some of the spirituality topics. I get that it could help one's creativity. Yeah, Jawa, if you haven't gotten through The Artist's Way, that is the one that I really recommend if that's what you're looking for. I found The Artist's Way to be extremely helpful. So that's what I would say. I know it's kind of like a lot to bite off and do, but I'm going to be doing The Artist's Way every year. So if you want, you can go watch the Artist's Way videos as you go week by week, and then stay in the loop because I'll be doing another session of it next year. So Zandra says the whole 20 pages. I was going to say, no, we're doing it all. The next book, we're going to take a break on the books, and we're going to be doing other types of videos every Sunday. I have videos to get caught up on, so we're going to take, we're still going to be doing our weekly videos, but some of the, and I haven't decided on the structure yet, but I want to be doing some painting live streaming. I want to be doing some, and you know, I do have some drawing books and stuff that I want to go through. So we'll talk about that next week. This week is my planning week for that. So we'll announce all that. So Zondra's saying the next book should be Art and Fear. Yeah, so again, we're going to take a break on these books. We're going to be doing more hands-on because we've done, what, three creative books in a row. I feel like it's time to get caught up on other videos that I need to do. So every painting that I do an about the painting video. And so those need to be produced and put on the page. And I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing them as live streams as much as I can, so that as we go along, you guys can tune in and you can be the first ones to see what's going on with those. And then we're also going to be doing, no, I'm going to wait on anything else. So again, we've got some stuff going, but there's things that, yeah. So Jawa says he's going to try Artist Way again and go back and watch the videos. Perfect. Yeah. And again, keep tuning in because we're going to have new stuff. So Kim says she loves the hands-on. She really liked the mandala the tutorial that I did. And Zandra says the mandala was fun. Zandra's asking if there's no more book club. No, that's not what I'm saying. We're just taking a break because I have to get caught up on stuff. So we'll do book club later. But right now I have other video projects for this channel that need to be added, and we're still going to be doing live streams. So and there's the potential for more tutorials as well, but I need to iron out some details with that. So that being said, yeah, Kim says Sundays with Sari. Yeah, so come back next Sunday. We'll read the last chapter of the book. I'll give you guys a little bit more of a schedule, and we will be doing book club again. We're just taking a break on the books because there's stuff that I got a GSD. So, we do have the book list that we've been doing, but I'm thinking we could probably do like now, and I'm just throwing this out here. This isn't necessarily what I'm going to be doing. You guys, Jala says Sundays with Sari. Yay! I'm glad you guys enjoy them. So I'm not going away. We're still going to be doing the YouTube channel. And there's some books sitting over here that I want to look through. I might be, yeah, I have to iron something out before I can really make an announcement. So I'll do that this week. And yeah, so next week we'll finish that up. And Sandra says, yay. All right, you guys, I got some projects I have to knock out of park today. And then if I get all my stuff done, I get to sit down and work on my painting. So go team, enjoy your weeks. And I will see you next week. All right, Kim says, everybody have a great week. Love you. Love you guys. Happy creative. As Kim says, keep art in your heart. Bye, Jawa. Bye, Kim. Bye, Zandra. Anyone else out there? Take it easy.